This prisoner widened his eyes in shock. He saw 3 ants on the floor slowly carrying a set of clothes. As the ants touched the mechanism, the clothes instantly expanded 10,000 times larger. At the same time, the ants formed a countdown with their bodies, as if reminding him the guard was about to arrive. The prisoner no longer hesitated. He grabbed the clothes from the ground and quickly put them on. Seeing the countdown with only 4 seconds left, the prisoner had just put on the final piece of gear. When the guard slowly walked to the cell door, he found the prisoner inside had already disappeared. But what he didn't know was, at that moment the prisoner was sprinting under his feet. He slid gracefully and slipped through the crack of the door. Just as he worried about where to go next, a group of ants surrounded him tightly. The leading ant was even carrying a tiny camera, as a deafening roar rang out. A giant flying ant landed in front of him. By the time the officers ran out of the station in panic, Scott was already aboard a private plane. Since it was his first time riding a flying ant, he wobbled and crashed into a bus. Scott wanted to hide in a girl's hair to rest for a moment, but unexpectedly got smacked away and bounced onto a man's newspaper. The non-stop thrilling experiences made the already acrophobic Scott faint instantly. When he regained consciousness, he was already on a bed, with a beautiful woman staring straight at him. When she saw Scott wake up, the woman turned and left the room. Scott had just tried to get up to stop her, but found the floor covered with ants. He carefully placed his foot down, afraid of stepping on any of them. Unexpectedly, the ants moved aside to make way for him. After leaving the room, he finally met a familiar face. The doctor told him about an invention that could shock the world. With this technology and precise calculations, he could control the distance between molecules of matter, allowing him to change the size of an object at will. Although this discovery was worthy of history, the doctor knew if it fell into the wrong hands, the world would plunge into chaos. He originally wanted to secretly destroy the invention's principles, but his student had already copied the experimental data, and even joined terrorists to create a suit, planning to use it to control the whole world. Once they completed mass production of the suits, nations would suffer devastating blows, and the reason he sought Scott was to have him destroy the experimental base. If successful, the doctor would not only erase his criminal record, but also grant him visitation rights with his daughter. Scott was still hesitant at first, but after hearing the condition, he immediately agreed. Before departure, the doctor also set strict training for him. He had to master controlling size shifting. Although Scott was full of fighting spirit, every practice ended in accidents. To deepen Scott's understanding of ants, the doctor shrank him and sent him into an ant nest in the grass. But as soon as Scott entered, he was surrounded by ants. Frightened, he instantly lost control and grew back to normal size. He kept adjusting his mindset and re-entered the nest. There he saw all kinds of ants, and even found the flying ant that had once saved him. Because of the suit's design, Scott couldn't carry weapons, so his only weapons were 2 kinds of discs. The red ones could shrink objects, and the blue ones could enlarge them. Once Scott had mastered all the skills, the doctor specially arranged a final test for him. But at this moment, Scott had no idea what he was about to face. He thought with this suit, stealing some gear would be a piece of cake. Confidently, he rode the flying ant and landed at FBI headquarters. Unexpectedly, he ran into Falcon on patrol. Seeing this, the doctor immediately ordered Scott to retreat. But Scott, who had never experienced failure, disobeyed the order. It seemed Scott would quickly be defeated by the well-trained Falcon. But he toyed with Falcon using size shifting until Falcon was dizzy. After he had enough fun, Scott rode the flying ant and slipped into the base. Falcon quickly followed, trying to stop him.
He's inside my pack!
But Scott had already shrunk into Falcon's equipment chip. Now Falcon could no longer track Ant-Man with his devices. When they returned, the doctor was furious. He scolded Scott for disobeying orders, but when Scott pulled out the stolen gear, the doctor immediately softened his tone. After finalizing the detailed plan, their ultimate mission finally began. As Scott jumped into the sewer, another teammate reduced the water pressure. With the perfect cooperation of the ants, Scott crawled through the faucet into the restroom. He ordered a swarm of flying ants to follow him through the ventilation ducts. Meanwhile, the doctor successfully entered the venue, and the doctor's daughter entered the control room as a secretary. She quietly installed the jammer on the main system. At Scott's command, a large group of ants crawled onto the computer motherboard. With a surge of electricity, the entire server room went offline. But just as Scott safely passed the trap and was about to claim the Wasp suit, the suit suddenly and strangely retracted back into the device.